Hello, good afternoon. It's Lindsay and it's Wednesday, Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. And for the past hour, these people, their dog has been whimpering. I bet you can hear it in a minute. It's just been nonstop. It's been doing that for over an hour, like just whining, crying like that. Sometimes I can't, it's very annoying sometimes when you're trying to do work or do something, and I get very distracted with that kind of stuff, and whatever. Okay, so you can hear the dog in the background, probably. Probably, right? Okay. Um, I can't even, it's making me lose my concentration. That's not even funny. It's not funny. It did that yesterday for about 3 hours. Okay, it was doing that for at least 3 hours, just nonstop yesterday afternoon. Okay, so I think it's like a I don't know what kind of dog. I think it's like a mixed pit bull or something. The kinds of dogs that are raw all over this neighborhood are usually like those kinds of pit bulls that are mixed breed dogs, and they run around, run amok, usually unattended for. Or what I've noticed in the almost 10 years I've lived in this neighborhood area is that the people will have them in the yard, but they're not chained to anything, or the chain is broken, and so the dogs, if you walk by on the sidewalk or on the street, they go crazy and they start trying to attack you. A lot of people would think, oh, it's just a dog, you can handle that. Well, actually, I used to think the same thing until back when, several years ago, I got attacked, bitten a few times, as well as chased a few times. One time on my bicycle, and I ended up crashing my bicycle. I was trying to escape the dog that was chasing me, trying to bite me as I was riding my bike. And then I ended up crashing the bike. I jumped up on a curb and I flipped the bike and literally flipped over backwards on my bike and almost fucking killed myself. And in the process, almost got hit by a car. And that was on a main street called East Houston? Yeah, it's a pretty busy street here in the east side. So that really spooked me for a while, and I just can't take those risks anymore. Considering I also have a bad hip, I have this metal implant in my right hip, which has deterred me from doing some things I used to be able to do. I used to be much more risky when it comes to doing things outdoors, but I don't want to risk breaking my hip again, because if I even fracture it just a little bit, it'll crack, it'll break, and then that'll be it. I won't be able to walk again. And I don't want to end up in a wheelchair. So that's why I have to be more careful. And that's why, for me personally, I prefer to exercise indoors at a gym or in my own house, or because I get attacked, because I start getting chased by dogs or people, harassed. And it's it's not safe for me. I'm talking about something I wasn't planning on talking about, but this dog animal stuff triggered me into talking about this. I don't understand why people get a pet or an animal and they don't take care of it. And I'm not saying that they don't take care of their animals, these people, these neighbors. But I have seen it all over, especially here in San Antonio, in this area where I live, where there's so many stray animals, dogs, cats, and they are very aggressive because obviously they've been abused. When an animal has been abused, they behave in a very aggressive manner, and they are going to be, they're not exactly a dog that you would want to approach, because you never know if they have rabies or not. So I am not much of a dog person myself. I prefer cats, and even the cats are, any animal obviously, that's been abused or neglected by its owners is not going to be a friendly towards people, humans. Inevitably, they're afraid, and I can understand. It's sad. It saddens me to see any animal suffering. Or I have a, I don't know what it is. It's animals. I don't eat animals. I'm a vegetarian. I guess that's why I'm a vegan, or well, not really vegan, but vegetarian, mostly vegan. I don't eat. I don't like cheese. I don't eat dairy, and I don't like. But I do eat a little bit of sometimes here and there. But I do milk and ice cream and dairy. I can't do that stuff. So I'm pretty much almost 100% vegan, and I have been this way like almost my entire life. So just the thought of eating an animal to me is repulsive and revolting. I find it repulsive. I don't know how people can eat, and I don't get how anybody could consume anything that's living or that was living. That I don't understand it personally. I just don't, and that's me. Call me crazy, whatever, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I believe that animals have the right to their lives, and nobody should be killing an animal for food. That's just me. I'm very against that. Very much against killing an animal for food. It's not right. It's not right. It's an inhumane thing. People say, I don't want to start going off on a tangent, but I can't really focus on what I was going to talk about, but I guess I'll talk about some gang stalking now that I'm on the topic, because I've been a little bit distracted. I have bad ADD. I lose focus sometimes when I'm distracted. But okay, it's gonna calm down. Maybe not. Shit. So yeah, I have weird things happening to me every day, and I don't think it's it's really not. It is not possible to keep up with everything, because if I did, it would be just like an endless, mundane task of trying to document every little thing that happens to me as far as all the stalking and whatnot that occurs in my life. And I thought it's like, yeah, sometimes it's there, and it's like, sometimes it's just more intense than other times, right? Depending on certain circumstances or situations, but no matter what, the intensity of it, it's always just bizarre. It's just stuff that's like, did that really just happen? Did I hear what I think I did? Because what these people do to target you, and I talk about this a lot on my channel, and I've known this for years, is they use a direct conversation. They mimic you, and they'll start talking about something in public in front of you, yet using the third person to let you know that they're talking about you, or that they're watching you, or that they know about you. And that right there is like it's such a encroachment of your privacy. You feel very violated and insulted. And that's what it's meant to do, is insult you, to confuse you, to anger you, to cause you induce paranoia by acting out and confronting them like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you talking about me? Because that's what they want you to do. Because why? Because that makes you look crazy. That makes you look like somebody who's delusional, so that they can call the authorities and have you put in a mental hospital or jail or something, right? This stuff sounds crazy, but it's real. It is real and if you don't understand, well, you know what? Let me get a book. Hold on, I have a reference book that I'm gonna go get off my bookshelf here. Just a second, please. Like, I don't want to lose my balance. I don't fall down, but this stuff. And as I've spoken about before, and I have tied these things together or compare, it's all very narcissistic, societal narcissism on a large scale, right? Anybody who participates in community watch gang stalking programs, it's basically narcissism amplified on a huge level. And so you think that, like, oh, it's going to be only in one little area of town, or it's not going to be if I go to a different country, or if I move, it's going to go away, or, and then you think that's going to change it. No, it will not. And, you get a job, and then the next thing you know, a month later or less than that, you're getting mobbed out of the job because they start finding things out about your past to shame you. And so they use that against you to try to embarrass you and humiliate you, bringing up little subtle things about your past that you know what? Well, my question is for the people who do this and they think they're so smart and they think they're so godly and perfect, because they seem to think that they're perfect, right? The people who do the gang stalking seem to think they're the watchers, that they're doing it because God sent them to do this to teach you a lesson. Bullshit. They're not anybody to be doing that. But this is all biblical. All the gang stalking stuff goes back to the Bible times, back to these biblical times when they did these things. But of course, obviously now there's more technology that these people access via surveillance and hacking into your phone and computer. And so it's just a complete violation of your privacy is what it is. And that's where I draw the line. It's one thing to go out and stalk a person and bother them because you don't like them or because they did something and you want to get revenge. But it's another thing for the fucking government to get all these people in private security and whatnot in fusion centers and all these different people to get involved with it when they blow everything out of proportion. And, it's usually your own family doing it. Usually 9 out of 10 times, here's a situation. It's something similar to this. You're the scapegoat of your family, right? You come from a narcissistic family. Most likely the family dynamic was screwed up where your parents were divorced when you were a child or very young. You have a sibling or a half-sibling that you don't get along with. One's a golden child and one is a scapegoat, okay? And y'all are opposites. One of you is just basically a bully, and one of you is more of an empath and creative. And so that other sibling is jealous. There's a lot of envy going on. And so the mother, usually if you have a sibling who's a male, whether it's younger or older, usually the mother favors the older son. Usually when it's two children and the male is the oldest, or what, maybe there's more than 2 kids, but usually that firstborn is going to be the golden. They say that usually the firstborn is the one that the mother favors, right? And usually that one, like in my case, that sibling of mine has a different father. We have different fathers. And I didn't find that out. I always suspected it throughout my life. I was like, there's something really doesn't make sense here. We don't have the same. I could tell that there was something that I was not being told. And so in that situation where you have a sibling or two from a different father or different mother, then there's a lot of chaos because there's a lot of rivalry because so-and-so wants more attention or so-and-so doesn't get enough attention from a particular parent. And so there's a lot of animosity and jealousy that gets created amongst the siblings because it's always like a battle for attention. And it starts out really young. And I never tried to battle for anybody's attention. I was happy enough on my own. I was very creative. I was very innovative and overall a pretty happy child. I had a lot of depression, but I knew how to entertain myself very easily without people. I would talk, I was very, talked to myself a lot, did my own thing, and didn't even need people. I was fine by myself. I had my outlets of creativity. But other people are more needy of attention and approval, and that's happened to be the sibling that I have was very needy of approval, and he didn't get enough attention from my father, the so-called, The father who raised me is my father, Ben Armistead Jr., Bald, whatever, which I don't think is my biological father. I said I believe Alan, his brother, is my father. And as far as this sibling's father goes, I already said who I think his father is. I believe it's a man named Bob Sussman, who Kenny married at a later age in life, which didn't make sense because why would somebody in their 60s all of a sudden get married at age 65 or whatever, however old she was? Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? What would be the motive to get married at that age when that man already has his own kids? You know what I mean? You got to kind of put two and two together here and try to figure out why would that happen? And who is this man and what does he want? Money? Insurance policy? Something? Gosh, I don't know. Connect the dots. Why did he want to control my life? Why did he all of a sudden get involved with my life whenever I was living in Austin and all those fucking contracts that I signed under duress or manipulated into signing shit after, why all of a sudden did this man come into my life and try to take control and tell me how to live my life and control my finances? What was that about? And who the fuck did he think he was? You see? Trying to play police officer? Because a lot of criminal defense attorneys are just nothing but police. They're bullies. They're bullies. They're evil. They're fucking lawyers can be the most evil people in the world. They're not to be. They're working on the side of Satan, basically. Most of them. They are just like corrupt law enforcement. They're all on the side of the demon, Satan. I think, because all the dirty, nefarious things they get involved with, they don't have a conscience. They lose their conscience because they're involved with so much corruption. And they want you to lose your soul. These people who gang stalk you, what they're trying, back to gang stalking here, I'm changing the topic around, I'm sorry, and then I did get the book, but the gang stalking is meant to throw you off keel, to throw you off balance so that you become one of them, because they want you to be in this hive mind mentality where you just go along to get along, you don't question anything. You're just uniform. Everything is just, like basically a fucking soldier. Like you don't know how to think. And don't let that happen, because that's the idea of the fucking New World Order and the social communist agenda, is so that everybody's equal. Fuck that. We're not all equal. No two people are alike. And that's bullshit. They want you to, they always, notice how they use certain people, because so many people want to come to the United States and they come here either illegally or they immigrate here the legal way, whatever the fuck that is supposed to mean nowadays. But they are so eager to come to the United States and the American dream and the whole little 9 yards and the whole fucking American dream shit, which is a joke nowadays anyway, unless you want to be a fucking slave to the fucking system. But, yeah, So if you're not, what I've noticed is that people who are bilingual, like myself, I'm very bilingual, I'm very observant and multicultural, because I grew up being around a lot of different kinds of ethnicities and people, and big public schools and a big public university, living in foreign countries. And so I'm very diverse. I grew up with a very diverse background. I was not a sheltered child, and I was always very, whatever. I could be friends with anybody and converse with anybody if I wanted. Back then I was much more naive. Now I'm much more choosy about who I want to talk to. But because mistakes get made and then you get taken advantage of. It's what happened to me over and over again by being too trusting and friendly to the wrong kinds of people. But so they think that like the agenda of these people is that they want to, obviously the government, the social communist agenda, the social Marxist agenda, which is political Zionism, basically, is that they want to bring in all these people to this country who are going to either not have a work permit, or they're going to eventually somehow get a work permit by being working their fucking ass off doing some labor job, some job that, requires usually a lot of hours and a lot of laborious tasks that a lot of them end up getting in, most of them are working in construction or things that are just very laborious and very taxing on the body. and you can get injured easily. Okay, a lot of these people get hurt very badly on the job, but that unfortunately, since a lot of them don't have health insurance, or they don't really know the laws, and they're just so eager to make money, and they end up sending the money back to their country. Usually a lot of them they don't really have time to learn English, or they don't really need to, or they don't want to, I've noticed. And a lot of them, they just kind of are here to make money and to send the money back home, and then that's it. They're very hardworking people, and they're just very naturally hardworking people, and I respect that. I have a great deal of respect for these people. I really do, but I feel that at the same time, a lot of them, because of the language barrier, are being taken advantage of without really even realizing how much they're being taken advantage of by people in the government here in this country. And I think that's fucked up, because basically they're being used for human labor, human trafficking. A lot of them are. And they're okay with that because they think that that's the only way that's going to lead to their citizenship. And a lot of them never end up getting citizenship. Even after being here for 20 years, they don't ever get their permanent residency. So usually what do? They try to find somebody to marry, okay, who's a U.S. citizen. And so then a lot of times, okay, yeah, it sounds good on paper. Like, yeah, the whole, how romantic. I'm gonna meet this foreign person who's gonna be exotic in a different language, and they're, I'm so attracted, opposites attract type thing. And then you get involved with that person, only to find out that, well, they have an entire family back in their country. They're lying to you. They just want to use you for a green card, or a place to sleep at night sometimes, or a bathroom to use. And then a lot of times they'll end up being abusive to you psychologically and physically, because of their own culture, and things are different in their culture as opposed to here. And it has a lot to do with their religious beliefs, or spiritual beliefs, or lack thereof. Because I've been through that myself. I was married to a person from a foreign country for less than a year, because I realized that what his scam was. I was so naive and taken advantage of when I was still in my 30s. I didn't realize that was his agenda. I thought it was real. I was stupid. Got married by the justice of peace thinking it was real. No, it was not. It was real on my end, because I thought the guy, but he had an agenda, right? An agenda to exploit me and use me and steal from me, which he did. And tried to suffocate me one day. I don't want to talk about that right now, but nonetheless, I have plenty of experiences in life with different things. So I have my own knowledge about what I'm talking about to validate myself, but so I'm going on from one topic to the next. But a lot of these people who come over here, obviously, they're being watched by the government. They're being surveilled. They're being gang stalked, and they don't even know what it is. But they're also, at the same time, being paid to gang stalk people who are innocent. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but this social communist agenda that we live in is basically taking advantage. It's human trafficking. It's taking advantage of women. Takes advantage of people who are single with no kids. People who are, outgoing, outspoken whistleblowers who go against a social norm, or who are just different. You're just different, right? You just think differently. You look a little bit different. You're not thinking on the same level that they want you to in the corporate environment. So you're going to get the gang stalkers to come after you to try to drive you out of the workplace, because you just are making too many people nervous, because you just don't conform the way you're supposed to. You don't follow the script properly, so we're going to gang stalk you and send these people to monitor you, and because you're a threat to who? To who? The fucking media spying on you? Who the fuck am I a threat to if I'm not even fucking doing anything except doing my... You see, they exaggerate everything to try to make you look like the villain, to try to make themselves look like heroines of some plot that they created just to fucking single you out and to fucking make you look crazy and stupid. Because this is what these people do. They're demonic, evil people. They're evil. And maybe they need to take a look at themselves, ones who do the gang stalking and organize all this stupid stuff, working for these whatever. Maybe they need to do some deep mirror work or some shadow work and find out who the fuck you really are and who do you think you are doing this to other innocent people. is what I would like to know. I'd like to challenge them and let them see what it feels like to go through this every fucking day for years and years, being violated, your privacy, your ability to earn money, the right to have everything that these people try to take away from you, your inheritance, you're calling you crazy because it's just stupid. It's stupid, and you need to fight. People who don't have any fight in them, or I have a lot of fight in me, and I have a lot of spirit in me, and it's something driving my spirit to do this, that I get help from my relatives, I suppose, on the other side, but somebody helps guide me through all this shit that I have to go through, all this turmoil that I am encountering every single day, depending on different phases of my life, right? Because it's always meant to fucking trigger you or to shame you, or they're just a bunch of bullies. Bullies, on like adult bullies who need to have their way, and they just don't know how to tolerate things that are different. They're they don't have a lot of intellect, a lot of emotional intelligence, I guess I would say. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very, from a psychological perspective, when you watch how they do this, it's fucking crazy. It doesn't make any sense. It's like it makes them look mentally ill. People who stalk and harass other people and follow you around to try to get your attention, it shows that they have some mental something wrong with them. Normal people, healthy individuals don't stalk other people in public without. Why would they do that? Why would anybody be doing that? What do you get out of it except some fucking gift card or some government? What the fuck do they get out? Oh, are you a private investigator? Who the fuck are these people? And what, But this is a good book that talks about this whole gang stalking stuff that I have had for a while, called Treading on Serpents, written by a woman named Tina Plackinger. She did have a YouTube channel. I don't know if she still does, but she was somebody who was in the fitness industry. I guess it was at Gold's Gym, and she was out in California, and a lot of weird stuff was happening to this woman. But this is a really interesting book that I would suggest that targeted individuals get a hold of this book. It's very informative, or very interesting. And this book, Project Soulcatcher by Dr. Robert Duncan, talks about the Phoenix program, talks about MK Ultra, talks about a lot of different CIA-based FBI programs that these people do, just to fuck with people, target people. It's all very informative. It's this book, Project Soulcatcher, Volume 2. And this man, by the way, has passed away. I believe he passed away. I don't know how. They probably gave him a heart attack, but most people end up getting killed early on in life. When you're a targeted person, you end up dying from some bizarre death, or you end up getting in some stage accident, premature accident, or just weird things happen to you because they're always watching you and following you and trying to cause accidents, because these people want you to shut up. They don't want you to talk about these things. Obviously, because the more information that people know about it, the more they're going to be informed, and the more they're going to, use their own voices to retaliate against these inhumane atrocities that your own government is committing against innocent people for their own experimental purposes and medical experiments and whatnot. So, what happened today? Let me think about what happened today at the gym. What happened today that was bizarre? Nothing really out of the ordinary that I can think of happened today. As a matter of fact, I don't think anything weird as far as any, not that I can think of today. It was actually, nobody bothered me today. But I guess maybe, I had this issue with my payment not going through, and so I had to call my bank, and I disputed it, and then I had to dispute it or take back that dispute because I knew that I was going to have problems at the gym if I didn't. So I had to cancel that dispute so that I had to pay extra because my card had been rejected or whatever. So now I guess they're okay with that. I mean, it's like, there's a lot of problems when you have a gym membership, okay? It doesn't matter if you have a 12-month membership or you pay month to month or something happen, or maybe something happens to your card that you use on file or something. Things happen, right? Your card gets lost. You have to get a different one, and then it fucks up everything because you'll end up getting charged a fee because of something. That's what happened to me. But it's not. I don't let these things deter me. I just fix it. I just fix the problem and communicate effectively with the people, and then that's it. That's all you can do is communicate effectively. I don't try to raise a fuss or raise commotion or call attention to myself when things like this happen. I just calmly try to talk about what happened, and that's it, and fix it. And if they're going to be rude to me about it or give me a problem, which some people have in the past when things like this happen, other people are very nice. Whatever, I can handle these things. I know how to communicate effectively with people. I'm not afraid to communicate. Because obviously, it's just part of life. I consider myself to be pretty much antisocial person, but I do have effective communication skills. I rather enjoy talking to videos or to myself or whatever, but I'm not one of these people who likes to be in public giving a speech. Even though I have done that in the past and I did it quite well, it's not really my forte. It's not my thing. I don't like doing that. Speeches or persuasive speeches or lectures about stuff. I had to do a lot of that when I was in my college days. And I just hated it. I don't like it. But yeah, I get a lot of weird things happening to me in public with the gang stalking, and it's just depending. Like I said, the themes change around depending on what I've talked about in my home by myself. And yeah, they have acts. Somebody comes into this house when I'm not here and rearranges things to gaslight me, to let me know that they're in here. Which, why do that? Why do that to somebody? What else are they doing? And it really makes me wonder who the fuck tried to poison me in that. And then when I found those things in that cup, I think I know who did it. I have a feeling I think I know who did it, and I already talked about that, but it still really makes me wonder, So that's all that I'm talking about today because, yeah, these books, get these books. You can get them on Amazon, I believe, or probably eBay, but definitely if you're somebody who's experiencing the targeting, the harassment, the gang stalking, the surveillance, the bullying, the mobbing, the gaslighting, the narcissistic abuse, definitely educate yourself about it, because educating yourself about it is key to at least knowing what it is, instead of being in the unknown zone about it, like was my situation for a long time, until I finally figured out what the fuck was going on by doing my due diligence and research. I accidentally stumbled upon what was happening to me back in 2002 or something, a long time ago. So I've known about gang stalking and targeted individual stuff since at least, I believe it was 2000, after I left that job at Rice University in Houston, which was 2003 or something. So I've known about it for a long time. And as soon as I found out what was going on after researching, because I was so desperate to get answers, and nobody understood what I was talking about. They were like, "What are you talking about? Why would anybody be doing that to you? Are you mentally crazy? Are you delusional?" And I'd get accused of these things. It's like, no, I'm not. So finally, thank God, I found the terminology on my computer to find out about gang stalking, and got involved with some groups back then, Freedom from Covert Harassment and Surveillance was the first organization I got involved with, the Derek Robinson's group. And I don't know where Derek Robinson is nowadays. I think he's out in California. I do not know. I don't know what he's doing nowadays. I really have no idea. But he's the one who I started getting on a lot of his conference calls. Some of these calls were just crazy stuff that I was like, I couldn't. They would talk about shielding and microwave weapons and voice to skull stuff and Faraday cages and electronic harassment. Some of this stuff was like, okay, I understand what you're talking about, kind of, sort of, but I'm not going through that. What I'm going through is a bunch of fucking organized stalking and harassment and letting me know that they're watching me and illegal surveillance. I'm not going through all that fucking shit that these people are pardon my language, but it was like, what are they really sounded crazy. Some of these people sounded like they literally needed to be in a mental hospital, like very much so, and they are on all kinds of mental medications as well. Some of these people, you could tell that they're on so many things, mental drugs that fuck with your brain chemistry, because some of that stuff is way far-fetched. You know, some of that stuff is like, really, you've gone over the edge when you're talking about like the wearing a fucking tinfoil hat and stuff like that. That does not apply to me. I never did anything like that. And I never slept in a Faraday cage, and I never, like a lot of these people do or have. But to each his own. Everybody's experience is different. Everybody has different methods of being targeted. You know, they do have the ability to use microwave weapons. They do have voice-to-skull technology. They do have laser technology, and all this shit does exist because there's patents out there of the government, the military. There are patents. You know, these things are actually, they do exist, but directed energy weapons, they call them, I used to get... Speaking of that, I used to get followed around everywhere with people, because I used to drink a lot of Mountain Dew, Diet Mountain Dew. I don't really drink it so much now, but hardly ever. I would get followed everywhere I would go, I remember, by people with drinking Mountain Dew. And it would make me so fucking irritated. They would just stalk me in the fucking grocery store drinking Mountain Dews, or on the everywhere. They'd always have a fucking Mountain Dew. And I was like, this was a lot. That was like around 2005 and 6. I remember a lot of that happening. So when I look back on all the things that I've been through and all the timeline of everything, yeah, I've got stories to tell. And they're real situations, but boy, do I have a lot of things that have happened to me over the years with this targeted individual stuff.